live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
The sun is out, the wind is blowing, and this is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Safari Live. Of course, my name is Tayla, and on camera with me today is Craig, and also keeping us nice and safe is Herbie. So he'll be escorting us through the wilderness, and as you can see, we're going to be doing a bushwalk this afternoon. But before I get into anything else, of course, we've got 3 schools joining us from across the world today. We've got Garrisonville, we've got Colegio San Patricio, as well as a regular viewer, Windsor Oaks. So welcome to you, and for the next 45 minutes, we'll be dedicating questions just to the schools. However, you can still send us questions and we'll get to them a little bit later. Remember, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, and we'll, like I said, we'll get back to them a little bit later. But for all of you who are sitting in classrooms today watching me as I balance up on top of a termite mound, that's what this is. What you're looking at over here is only 1/3 of the mound. Can you believe it? And this is actually a very small termite mound. 2/3 of this mound goes below the earth. So it's like an iceberg. Can you believe that? It's really amazing. And you can see there's lots and lots of little holes in here. I don't think this one is too active. Maybe it is, but there's definitely no termites at the surface today. Maybe they'll come and work a little bit later, but just because the top half maybe doesn't have any termites in it, maybe they've disappeared because they've been attacked recently by some animals that love to eat nutritious and delicious termites, they could still be living underneath the ground. I suppose I better come down here though. This is going to be quite interesting. Woo! And I dropped my earpiece, came out. Right, let's see what else we can find while we're out on this walk this afternoon. There are so many different things. Should I show you one of my favorite trees just down over here? Let's walk through this. Now, Miss Claudia, as we walk through the bush, you may have noticed that the grass is turning a slightly yellow color, and that's because we're in autumn at the moment, and you were wondering exactly that. What season are we in at the moment? So we're just about to come into winter, where the grass will disappear completely. It won't even be yellow anymore, except for a tree like this. This one is great. This one keeps its leaves forever, and it's so delicious. It's not delicious. That's not how you describe a tree, because if it was delicious, it would mean that I could eat it and it would be lovely. But it's not lovely, but it is very, very soft. It is so nice and soft. Now, as you can imagine, I have to tell you something quite funny. This tree is fantastic. And it's good to know this tree, the wattle. Because if you are stuck outside in the bush and it's an emergency and you don't have any toilet paper, this is what you can use. Lovely soft leaves. It's almost like 2-ply. And in South Africa, we call this the white gold tree. So how cool is that? So everything out here, and that's hopefully what I'm going to teach you this afternoon. One of the things I'm going to teach you while we're out on safari, walking around, is that anything is usable out here in the bush. From medicinal, so for medicine, to eat, for anything that you can think of. But it's not just me taking you on this virtual safari this afternoon. Jamie and Byron are also out, but I know Jamie's driving around and she's very excited to say hello to all of you.
I'm so excited I could barely wait to say hello to all of you. A very good afternoon. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Seb is on camera with me, and it is a lovely hot afternoon, even though it is basically our winter time. And so, what do you think one does when it's a hot afternoon? Where do you think you should go? There's certain places that are going to be better for looking for animals than others. Now imagine you're an elephant or something like that, and it's a really hot afternoon. Don't you think it might be nice to go and have a drink or to go and have a swim? And that is where we're going to start looking for animals. And already, even though we're not at the waterhole yet, we've got lucky. Look at that. It is a herd of one of the most beautiful antelope that we get out here, called Kudu. 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 And there was a baby one. Did you see the baby? Right, let's go. Let's go a little bit forward. Now we're going to sneak up really quietly because kudu are a very shy antelope. So we're going to shuffle forward and see if we can get close to them. So a warm welcome to the school kids joining us. I hope you kids are excited to see some amazing animals. Okay, do you think we can get there? We don't want to scare them away. Oh, look at this big male. Look at that. There we go. There's the big male walking across the road in front of us. Isn't he spectacular? Look at those massive twirly horns. And of course, because he's got such heavy horns on the top of his head, because those are solid bone, the same thing that your bones are made from, because he's got such a heavy head, he's got to have a really thick neck to hold his head up as well. So the male has horns, the females don't. Let's creep forward a little bit more. There's the baby. There we go. Isn't that special? A whole herd of kudu, including that little one. And Enzo, you say, is it fun to drive around looking for animals? Enzo, I don't think I can think of anything else in the world that is more fun than looking for animals. And that includes going swimming or perhaps going to a film or a movie somewhere. I think driving around looking for animals is the best fun that anybody can have. But maybe I'm biased. The fun thing about driving around looking for animals is that you don't know what you're going to find. Just this morning, we were surprised by wild dogs that found us. We were just sitting there, we were looking at a really pretty bird, and all of a sudden the wild dogs came running out. So that's what I love the most about it, Enzo, is that I can't plan or predict. Maybe if I was working in an office, I would know exactly which way my day was going to go. But out here, that is definitely not the case. Our very pretty kudu have moved into dense vegetation, and that's what kudu do. They like to hide, but there's the male. Oh, he's still hiding from us. There he is. Isn't he beautiful? Now, this is one of our biggest antelope that we get out here, but Byron has found something even bigger with horns.
Well, I have found a bigger animal, a beautiful big buffalo bull who's still lying down in the grass. Some of you may have seen him just while we were doing the pre-show drive. There he is, he's enjoying the shade and the long grass. I will try reposition and see if we can get a better view of him. Oh, that's a nice, lovely little start. And again, hello to everyone. And those of you who didn't see earlier in the pre-show drive, my name is Byron, and on camera with me is Fergus this afternoon. And we're hoping to find a lot of different animals, but this is a great start because neither of us have actually seen buffalo for quite some time. So it's nice to see a big bull. I'm going to reposition and see if we can see more of him. He is a big bull, a big male. Tristan, I'm not sure how many animals I think that we're going to find today. I don't know. It's very difficult to say because there's no guarantee of how many animals we are going to find. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drive around and we'll have a look back at him. I think we'll have a nice view from the other side. So Tristan, I mean, we could see plenty of animals and we could also see very little. It all depends. It depends on the areas that we check. Hold on, I'm going to go position around the other side so we're not looking into the sun as much. But let's see how many we can find, Tristan. So our first one is a buffalo bull. Well, Jamie's already found some kudu. So there's obviously a lot out here. Oh, okay. Now I wonder, is Jamie close by there? No. I'll have to go. Let's have a look at this buffalo quickly for a few minutes. And then I'm going to rush off. Oh, that's lovely. Isn't that a nice view of that buffalo? You can see that very big horn structure. It's known as the boss, the middle section of horn. Let me move out the way a little bit there for you. That's a bit better. There he is. Lovely. So nice to see. Nice to see. Alright, now, we've seen the buffalo. I'm very excited that we've seen the buffalo. I just want to know, is Jamie around? Hold on a second. I just want to get hold of Jamie. Jamie for Byron. Good afternoon, Jamie. Did you get the update on the dam cam? No problem. I just wanted to check that you were in the area. That's fine. I'm going to sit this side. I'm on Zoe's at the moment. No problem. Thank you. Okay, so we've got a little surprise for you. Jamie is in another area. She's going to be looking to find that surprise first. We've got a little update that there might indeed be a cat that a lot of you would want to see, but we'll wait and see if she finds it. I hope she does. But in the meantime, we can sit with this nice big buffalo and look at the sun catching the horns. You see those very sharp horns shining, glistening in the sunlight. Now the male horns, the male's boss, that middle structure of horn, is very, very thick, much thicker than the females, and they use that to fight one another and also to defend themselves against predators, even lions. The buffalo are so strong, so powerful, that they'd be able to fight off any lions if the lions do try and hunt them. Well, not all the time. Sometimes the lions do kill the buffalo, but a big male like this would be very difficult, I think, for them to hunt. And he's just enjoying the shade. He's got a lovely little spot there in the long grass. And you can see he is chewing. Do you see that? Looks like he's chewing some chewing gum. But it's obviously not. It's known as chewing the cud. Now what that is the buffalo. They feed on all the grass, and after a while, after they've eaten a lot of grass, they've got a funny digestive system. Now they've got a stomach that is actually divided into 4 chambers. So this 4-chambered stomach is very good for digesting food. They get all the nutrients, all the good nutrients or good stuff out of the food that they're feeding on. They'll feed on that and then they digest it very well. But what happens is they actually regurgitate the food. So they bring it up again. So they bring the food up again, and what happens is then the buffalo re-chews the food and then swallows. So they break it down very, very well. Now, Logan, you asked if the buffalo are endangered. No, buffalo. No, Logan, the buffalo are not endangered. I almost called you buffalo, Logan. I'm sorry. So, no, the buffalo in Africa are not endangered. There are plenty of buffalo all over the game reserves, which is really great to see. And they are one of the most unpredictable animals out here, I think, in my opinion. Very difficult to read, and they can be quite temperamental. They can be quite angry sometimes, especially if you walk into them and you bump into them. So Mackenzie, that's exactly what I was saying now. Your question is, will the bull attack? So Mackenzie, no, not while we're on the vehicle here. You can see the bull is quite relaxed. But if we were walking around and we had to bump into this bull, it might be a different situation, because they then feel a bit more threatened. So then to protect themselves, they'll possibly try to defend themselves, they might charge. So we do have to be careful of the buffalo when we are walking around. but this one's very relaxed and happy with us being close to him. Now, Dakota, you want to know how long the buffalo bulls live. Well, Dakota, they'll live on average around about 20 years. So not very long, only about 20 to 22 years. Also depends if there's good food and water around, and are they able to stay away from predators. Lions are probably their biggest threat. So if the lions hunt them, they have to be quite careful. And the older buffalo or the weaker buffalo, they are often picked off first. It's a bit easier for the lions to hunt them. It's very peaceful here this afternoon. Again, like I said, it's a nice sunny day, but it's not too hot, because we're moving into our autumn months. So it's really nice. The temperature's cool, but the buffalo is still enjoying the shade. And very peaceful to sit here and spend time with them. I hope you all enjoying seeing this buffalo. I don't know if you've seen a buffalo on Safari Live with us before. I'm sure some of you have. Sorry, Alice, I seem to have lost comms there for you. I don't know if you could please repeat that.
The buffaloes come in different colours?
Lyric. Buffalo don't come in different colours. They generally this dark black coloration, or almost grey black. Not different colours. I've never seen a purple buffalo before. So no, only this black or black-grey colour. See, he didn't like me saying purple. See how he's looking at me now? I can just picture a purple or yellow or green buffalo walking around. No, so the buffalo, and that's also why they can be, sometimes they can be quite or potentially dangerous. At night, for example, if you're walking around, which you should never do, walk around the bush at night, never ever, but sometimes around the camps, you might get buffalo, and because they're black, they're difficult to see at night. You probably won't see them because they're so dark. I might sit here a few more minutes with this big buffalo bull, but Jamie is looking for that surprise that I mentioned. Let's see how it's going.
Wow, I need you to help me look, because the surprise that we're looking for is an animal that's very, very good at hiding. And somewhere around here is a spotted cat called a leopard. Now, can you see him anywhere? Because I can't see him anywhere. I can't see any sign of him. Shall we sneak forward and see if we can spot him? But are you all looking closely? Are you all looking very, very carefully? So we're going to go see if we can spot where this leopard is hiding. So, if it's a hot day and there's a leopard, where do you think a leopard might be hiding? Do you think it would be lying in the sun? Because I don't think so. I think a leopard would be probably lying in the shade. So where would be a good shady spot? I think that looks like a good shady spot. Shall we have a closer look? Have you seen him yet? Because I can see him. Hey, there we go. Look at that. We found him. Isn't that special? A young leopard resting up in the shade. Imagine how difficult that leopard would be to spot in the long grass. Difficult for us to see from where we were. Now, Tristan, sorry, did you say do pandas live here? Did I hear that correctly? Oh, panthers. Oh, sorry, Tristan. I was going to say no, pandas definitely don't live here, but you want to know if panthers live here. A panther is actually the name given to an animal with melanism, either a leopard or a jaguar. And melanism is a type of, basically not a condition, but a type of different chromosome or different DNA that makes the animal all black instead of having spots. So in a way we do get panthers here because we do get melanistic leopards, which are black leopards, so they look just like the panther in the Jungle Book. And we don't see them all that often, but there are recorded cases of completely black leopards hiding out in certain parts of South Africa. So yes, we do get, oh, look at those big teeth. We do get something that's very, very similar to a panther. But we don't see them here. I have never ever seen one before. That's how rare they are. You hardly ever see them because it's quite rare for them to have that genetic condition. Isn't he lovely? Enjoying the shade. Mackenzie, you want to know if leopards are endangered. Mackenzie, they are threatened. They're not endangered yet, which is wonderful news. We don't want them to be endangered. And we suspect that there are quite a few leopards that hide out. It's very difficult for us to know exactly how many leopards there are because they can be so hard to find. And if a leopard isn't used to people, birds are calling. If a leopard isn't used to people, then it will hide away as soon as it hears people. So some of the researchers are focusing really hard on trying to figure out exactly how many leopards there are. We definitely... Tatum, you want to know why do they have spots? Just hold on, Tatum, 1 second. I want to show you something. I just want to warn you, it's not a very pretty scene, but there is something there. Okay, we're not going to look too long. That is the leopard's lunch over there, so we're not going to look too long at it because I know for some of you it might make you feel a little bit sick. Now, Tatum, that goes into why leopards have spots. It's because they are so good at hiding away and camouflaging themselves that the spots actually help to break up their outline. So imagine a leopard is walking through some thick grass or some thick vegetation, and the sun is only just shining through the trees. And it basically hides the leopard away really, really well. And you saw how hard it was for us to see where he was hiding. Well, the same applies to, or that's the reason why they have spots. Now, why is that connected to his lunch? Well, it's because that's how leopards hunt. Now, he is a wild leopard. He lives completely on his own, which means that he has got to hunt and catch his own food. I have to say, I'm astounded at what he's hunted and caught. Really, truly astounded. Now, Victoria, you want to know, what do leopards eat? They eat meat. So that was an antelope that he's obviously caught at some point in the last day or so, which I'm quite astounded by as well. But that is an impala that he caught. So leopards have to eat meat, they can't, and they catch their own food. So that's what leopards eat. Antelope, scrub hares, monkeys, birds, anything that they manage to catch. Now he's very sleepy. He's got a full belly. Now he's been a very clever boy in that he's put his kill up in a tree. And the reason that he does that is to protect it from scavengers. So he wants to make sure, because he's worked really hard for this meal, he's had to sneak up on the impala and catch it and then drag it all the way over here. So he wants to make sure that nothing comes to steal it. So he's tried to put it as high up as he can, and now he's a very tired boy, fast asleep in the grass. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn around so that we can get a slightly different view of him, and maybe even he'll let us sneak a little bit closer so we can see him properly. While we do that, let's go across to Tayla, who's found something that might make you feel a little bit creepy crawly.
Maybe it will, maybe you won't, I don't know. But what Craig and I have been doing, and Herbie have been doing all afternoon, while you've been watching buffalo and leopards with Byron and Jamie, is we've been turning over logs, searching very hard to try and find you some termites. And after about 15 minutes, we've managed to find some. Take a look down here. Now, they're really, really small ones. Let me move all this out the way for you, Craig. But we're looking at these ones over here that are yellow in color, the yellow bodies, and then they look like they almost have an orange head. But if I put my finger, I'm going to put my little finger there, my finger. Look how tiny they are. They're so small. And these are the microtermes. So these ones don't build big mounds like the one that I was standing on. And you can see they're working very hard. They've actually got little snouts. They could be, I think these are the snouted termites, which is really cool. So, as a defense, you can imagine something like this is so small, it's very difficult to try and defend itself. But they've got these little snouts that they spray formic acid. So, it's a chemical substance that if you get it in your eyes and your nose, it makes them irritate. So, it could be itchy, it could cause burning, and all types of things. But I can promise you, there's one there. They are delicious. That tastes like coriander or cilantro. Maybe you don't know what coriander is, but maybe some of you know what cilantro is. And mint. Very tasty, but that's the formic acid that I'm tasting. And termites are very good protein, so if you are feeling a little bit hungry and perhaps you are lost and you know what a termite looks like, eat them. Very good in protein, and that's why birds, that's why different mammals love to eat them. And if termites went extinct, all of the termites in the world, you can see they're now hiding away though. Oh, there's some more down here. Let me pull those out for you, Craig. We're just going to reposition so we can get you another view because they are that small. But there they are in here. Actually, Craig, if you want, there's some easier ones up top over here. That's a bit better. So if all the termites went extinct in the world, the entire ecosystem would collapse. Nothing would be able to survive. They are very important out here. Now, Alex, you're wondering if there are different kinds of termites. There are indeed, and these are some of the smallest termites that you get here in South Africa. The large fungus-growing termites are about 5 times the size of one of these little ones, and they're the ones that make the big mounds. So hopefully we will find some for you. We also get harvester termites. They don't make any big mounds above the ground. They make smaller ones too. And the reason why termites are so important is because they are responsible for decomposing. So decomposing means getting rid of. So they basically will feed on all of the old vegetation. So old leaves, grass, rotting trees, they get rid of all of that. And sometimes, I know in America they cause a big problem, is that they'll eat your wooden houses too. Luckily for us in South Africa, we don't have too many that hurt our houses, so we love the termites here. But how cool is that? There's something that you can eat if you get lost out in the bush. But we're going to send you back on board with Jamie now, who's sitting with young Hosana and an Impala up a tree.
I haven't even properly introduced you to Hosana. Been busy telling you about the leopard, but I haven't actually told you about this particular leopard, who is currently sleeping off what I can only describe as the fullest belly I've seen in a long time. You know when you have a big Sunday lunch or perhaps a big holiday dinner, and you just feel so full of food that you actually can't move and you have to kind of lie on the couch? That is what Hosana's feeling like right now. He's eaten a big meal and he's feeling really warm and quite puffed out, actually, quite exhausted. Our Hosana is only 15 months old, so he's just a little bit older than a year. And the fact that he's managed to catch and kill his own young Impala ram is truly extraordinary. I'm very, very impressed with him. He is a big boy for his age, though. He is quite a powerful leopard. And one day he's going to be a very, very impressive male. Marisol, you want to know, well, how big do leopards get? Depends on if they're a male or a female. Hosana means little chief, and he is a male. And his sister Shongile is a female. Now, a female leopard will probably not get much bigger than around about 50 kilograms. Probably, usually in this area, a little bit less. And the males can get anywhere up between about 80 to 100 kilograms. So that's close to over 200 pounds in some cases. The biggest leopards that we know of are around about 90 to 100 kilograms, which is absolutely massive. That's basically double me. His father, or at least the leopard that we think is his father, his name is Tingana, and Tingana is a very, very big male leopard. Now, Hosana's got some years before he gets to be that big, and he won't be big enough to compete for a territory until he's at least 4 years old, and he's only just over a year old now. But it could take him even longer, and he might not reach his full size until he's over 7 years old, at which point he'll get a really thick dewlap around his neck, which is a flap of skin and muscle. Now, for Raphael, you want to know if leopards ever attack lions? No, because as big as the biggest leopard gets, a lion is always bigger. So a lioness, which is much smaller than the male, a lioness will be at least 50 kilograms heavier than a male leopard, and much, much, much stronger. I've actually seen lions chase leopards before, and if they catch them, they will kill them. So a leopard doesn't want to pick a fight with a lion. If a leopard sees a lion, the first thing the leopard's going to do is try and climb as high up into a tree as they possibly can, or else, if the lion hasn't seen them, run away. Because all predators will kill other predators. The only time a leopard might fight a lion is if they find lion cubs, in which case they will kill the cubs as long as mum is not there. Speaking of other animals, we of course are a type of animal. And Sienna, you want to know, will the leopards chase us? No. We're really lucky in that we've known this leopard pretty much since the day he was born. So he's become very used to us. He doesn't see us as food, and we've even been able to approach and sit with him on foot, which is very special and very, very rare. Most of the time, if a leopard sees a human being on foot, they'll get up and they'll slink away, and they like to be hidden, they like to be secret, they don't like to be seen at all. So they will slink off into the distance somewhere. But they won't chase you unless it is really desperately hungry or it's nighttime. At nighttime, it's very different. At night, leopards are much more dominant, and you definitely don't want to meet one in the dark. Matthew, you want to know what would happen if I got out of the Jeep right now. I've said that Hosana is comfortable with people on foot, but because he's got his kill here, he's going to be feeling extra protective about it, and I'm very, very close to him, so he hasn't seen me coming from far away. My guess is this is what he'll do. He would stand up, he would hiss and snarl and probably growl at me, and make quite a big scary sounding growl, sort of brrr, and then he'd get up and run away. Because even though he's strong enough to catch a male impala, he's still going to be scared of me, and he's going to be very confused by my behavior, because he's used to us sitting in the vehicle. So I would never ever do that to him, because it would actually be really disrespectful, and it would be abusing the position that I'm in. This is his home, and he's let me get this close to him because he believes that I'm not going to hurt him or scare him. If I got out of the vehicle now, that's exactly what I would be doing, and I don't want to do that. These cubs are so comfortable with us. It would be such a shame to wreck it. It would be a terrible thing, a terrible selfish thing. Now, Sophia, you can see he's found himself a comfortable patch of grass. You want to know, are there other places where leopards sleep? Yes, absolutely. Sometimes they sleep in the sandy parts of a dry riverbed. Sometimes they find themselves a really nice place underneath a thick bush, like that weeping wattle that Tayla showed you. And sometimes they sleep in trees. And they're actually quite picky about which trees they sleep in. They like to sleep in trees without thorns, which I guess if I were a leopard, I'd also want to sleep in a tree without thorns. That makes total sense. These sorts of trees, make a perfect hiding place for a leopard. Our leopard will sleep in a tree when it's really, really hot outside, because then they've got shade, and then they've also got the nice breeze that might not touch them otherwise if they were sleeping on the ground. But right now, he feels safe enough and comfortable enough that he will sleep on the ground itself. That is marvelous. What a special surprise you were, Hosana. I don't think you have any idea. I'm really happy to see him because I haven't seen him in a long, long time. So I'm happy, or at least not properly. So I'm happy to spend a bit of time with him. Oh, that piece of grass was tickling his ear, and he just shifted his paw to get it away from his very sensitive ear. And you can see he flicks his ear every now and again. That's because the flies are sitting on top of it and they're biting his skin. And that's why he keeps flicking his ears to get them off. And those of you with very keen eyesight and very good observational skills might even see that there's a tick inside of his ear as well. Hosana's not going to be doing much, not with that massive belly. In fact, I think he's planning on sleeping the afternoon away, as all good teenage boys should. Apparently, Tayla's dying to show you something.
I'm a little bit jealous, Jamie, that you're sitting and you're watching Hosana, even though he's just sleeping, but we've got something very cool to show you. Now, it's not an animal, but it's something that an animal has left behind. And if you look, it's a big branch from a senna tree, from a senna shrub. There's lots of them that grow over this open area. And there are lots of caterpillars that like to eat them. Many animals actually feed on the leaves. And I'm going to actually pick up the branch now, because there's something in particular that I want to show you. Can you see how something has taken the bark off of this tree? Look at that, it's all missing. There's bits and pieces over here that come off quite easily. Look at that. Crazy, hey? Now it looks like an animal has eaten it, doesn't it? It's sort of gone like this. To take the bark off. Now there's only one animal that likes to do that out here in the bush, and that is the largest mammal that we get, and it's the elephants. So normally they like to eat the leaves, they eat the grass, they'll eat fruits, they'll even use their big tusks to dig down into the ground and look for the roots and the bulbs. But one thing that they like to do, I don't know if they like it too much, but in the winter months it gets a little bit, well, it gets a little bit dry. And of course, there's not a lot of food, unfortunately, in the winter months. So you can see, if you take a little piece like this, or no, I don't, I've cut my nails short, but here, let me peel a piece. You see that green part? That is called the cambium layer, and that is full of nutrients. So that's why the elephants open their mouths and sort of corkscrew it, so bite it and twist it and loosen the bark, and then they eat those delicious bits, and when they're done with it, they throw it away. And Fernando, you're wondering how much does an elephant need to eat every day? And the answer to that is too much, a lot. They need to eat 5% of their body weight every single day. So that means that they need to continuously eat for 19 hours. So it's actually quite exhausting, must imagine. I'm not an elephant, so I don't know, and I don't eat for 19 hours a day. But they'll walk around and they eat lots and lots of different things. And if you're wondering why do they have to eat so much, it's because, of course, they're massive animals, but unfortunately, their digestive systems, and you were talking about the digestive system of a buffalo, they are ruminants, they have 4 chambers in their stomachs. Elephants don't have that, and unfortunately that means that they haven't got a very good digestive process. So if we can find some elephant dung, let's see if we can find some over here. I think I can see some. Come walking with me. Is that you can almost see what an elephant has eaten. Yes, look at this. Now this is quite old elephant dung here, but if you look very carefully, you can actually see lots and lots of grass. You might see some leaves. So here we go, here's a leaf for you, just over there. So their food doesn't get digested very well. So that's why they need to eat lots. And Jordan, you're wondering, what else does an elephant eat? They eat lots of things. They only eat vegetation though, so they don't eat meat or insects at all. Maybe the odd grasshopper or the odd frog, but that's not on purpose. That could be from all the vegetation and the plants that they're pulling out of the ground and then eating. Otherwise, it's lots of grass. In the summer months, they prefer grass, but like I said, as we go into winter, everything turns to yellow, and then there's not much around for them to eat, so it becomes quite difficult. So then once they've eaten the leaves, they've eaten the grass, they've eaten the fruit, they've got to start digging for roots. Now, Benjamin, you're wondering what is a favorite thing that an elephant likes to eat. I'm going to show you, but you've got to walk a little distance. I'm trying to, here's the closest one. Sorry, Craig. I had to do a quick look around to see where everything was. And one thing that we are surrounded by out here are marula trees. And this big one over here, we'll go up to it. That is a beautiful big marula tree. There's lots of them. And a favorite thing that an elephant will eat is the fruits that this tree bears. Now, we have to look very carefully, but maybe we can find a seed. We've just finished all the fruits. Craig and I ate them all. We didn't leave any for the animals because they're so delicious. But let's see if we can find the seed of a marula fruit. Now, they're quite big. Got to look very carefully. This might not even be a female tree, so only the girl trees have fruit. The boy trees don't have any fruit at all. And I think that this is the case here. You normally, at the base of a marula tree like this, you'll normally see lots and lots of seeds, and also the vegetation or the plants will be squashed. Now the grass, of course, has only just come through, but there's a lot of little shrubs around here, and that's not normal. But we're going to keep searching for some marula seeds, and we'll hopefully find a female tree for you. But Byron has got something that with wings that could fly away.
Well, luckily for us, it hasn't flown away. Look at this beautiful bird, everyone. It's called a lilac-breasted roller. Isn't that pretty? And there's beautiful light shining through on it now, so we can see those colors. It's got blue, it's got brown, it's got white, it's got a turquoise color, that light blue. It's got lilac or almost like a purple color or pinkish color on the chest. Very pretty bird. One of the most colorful birds we get out here, and we do see quite a few of them. Oh, look at that. See how the feathers, it's puffing the feathers up a little bit on the forehead. Huh. That is such a nice view of this bird. Look at that. Very pretty feathers. Now, Quinn, this roller, you asked what does it eat. This roller will probably feed on mostly insects. So it will find little insects and try to catch them and feed on them. I've seen them catch little spiders. I've even seen a roller try and catch a mouse. Can you believe it? A tiny little mouse. But it was actually too big for the roller to swallow, and it had to spit it out. It couldn't fit it down its beak. But I have seen one catch a mouse. But generally it's mostly insects that they catch and eat. It's so nice to see him, so relaxed. We're very close to him. We're sitting almost right underneath him. And he's not interested in flying away at all. Very lucky. So, Owen, these birds aren't rare. We do see them through most parts of South Africa, and especially in the game reserves. But they are in abundance, and that just means that there's a lot of them. So we do see a lot of rollers. There's not just this roller. roller. There's not just this roller. There's also a purple roller. There's this lilac-breasted roller. There's also a European roller. Those are the three that are probably more common in this area that we see. Oh, look at that. Beautiful colors. Off he goes. Where did he go? He's gone. Yeah. Lovely. So we have got different types of rollers, but this is one that we do see quite often, the lilac-breasted roller. Very, very nice. So Judy, I'm not sure if that bird was a boy or a girl, because the male and the female rollers look the same. So I'm not sure, actually. I don't know. I can't tell you. And the interesting thing, Judy, is with some of with birds in the birding kingdom, the interesting thing is that the males are generally more colourful than the females. The females can sometimes be dull brown, and the males can be very beautifully coloured. So it all depends on the type of bird, but generally birds, the males are more colourful than the females, which is quite interesting. Well, I think, and I'm afraid, that is all from us for the school drives this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us, all of you. Thank you for your questions. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you've learnt a little bit. You're so lucky to see buffalo and leopard and some of the smaller things with Tayla. So from myself, Jamie and Tayla and the team, we'll see you all again on the school drives. We're going to carry on and head to Tayla. Goodbye, everyone.
So how exciting is this that we've had so many different types of animals so far? Now, it's really quite exciting because what we have done is Herbert has actually managed to pick up on Hosana's tracks, which were just behind us. And he was walking along here, so we're just trying to see if we can find a clear one. The tracks are really difficult to see, unfortunately, just because it's a very busy road. Not only, as you know, are there game vehicles going up and down here, but maintenance cars, tractors, that type of thing. But I suspect that he must have moved around and down towards the dam, probably during the middle of the day, because we've driven, you saw Jamie and I this morning, we did laps and laps around Quarantine. We did about 150 laps around the dam and in between all of those roads. So I think we would have seen him, unless he was just really good in hiding away. So I suspect that he was sitting somewhere on Ingwe Alley, one of my favorite roads here on Djuma Private Game Reserve, and I think that's where he's come from, that side. So hopefully we'll find some more evidence of him. Now Herbie says he's got something over here, but we're not sure what it is. I'm not sure what it is just yet, but we'll come and find out. Oh, what are we looking at? Lion, Herbie? Male lion. Okay, so this could have been from, I'm trying to think, yesterday we had the male lion. So I think this is from Mfumo. He's actually walked here. It's also, again, if I stand up, you can actually see it quite nicely. But the only thing you can see is the toes. Look there, 1, 2, 3, 4. Very big pad, very big toes. He's turned here and carried on walking. So yesterday morning, when you got to see him on the move with James, and we actually saw him a number of different times, scent marking along the way, he would have urinated up against this shrub, and that's one of the main ways that lions, of course, mark territories. Leopards do exactly the same thing. So I'm hoping if we do pick up on some more of Hosana's tracks, we'll be able to see little spots if he has started scent marking, because it'd be quite a dangerous thing to do out here, and particularly in this area, because Tingana rules this roost. He rules most of the northern Sabi Sands, Mr. T. So he's got to be very, very careful. If I were Hosana, I'd be very quietly moving through here, not marking my territory, not even advertising that I'm around, because that way it would actually allow him to stay in the prime territory. And this is a fantastic spot, and it's the reason why Tingana holds this spot, is because it's amazing. Many watering holes, many females, lots of food. It's prime property. It's like real estate on the beach, really, except we're in the wild and there's Impala and things, but that's sort of the equivalent. Though very, very scary if Hosana does start marking, because Tingana is not going to tolerate him forever, maybe for a little bit longer, but also he's starting to make big kills too. If Tingana comes in there, he's going to chase him straight off of the kill and start stealing his kills too. Mvula, there's lots of other male leopards around too that he's got to be careful of. But we're going to keep on searching and see what else we can find. Jamie, however, has found, well, a group of warthogs.
A beautiful group of I always enjoy sitting with a sounder. And welcome back to the sort of regular sunset safari. It's lovely to have you all. I have left Hosana. It broke my heart to do so, But I've actually got to get to Chitwa Dam at a certain time this afternoon to do some filming. So I've left Hosana for now. I've sent Byron off in his direction. And we're sitting with a sounder of Warthog instead. But that's okay, Seb. We saw him. At least we saw him. Seb said to me this afternoon he had a good feeling about this drive. I've got a good feeling too. Such a good feeling, I wonder if we can't sneak a bit closer. No, we can't. And just see the way that the female warthog is looking across at me, and I don't think we'll manage without scaring them off. So we'll sit with our view for now. I find it truly astounding that 2 years ago, sitting with a warthog sounder and actually enjoying a sighting for longer than a minute was a very, very unusual experience. And now I feel as though I've actually been sitting with warthog sounders almost every day on our safaris. Don't you think that's fantastic, especially considering the drought that we've had? I don't know what has changed, I don't know what it is, that all of a sudden there's more, it seems as though there's more warthog around, and they are so much more relaxed with us. I don't know why that is, and I can't quite work it out, but there's a definite difference. And I would have expected us to see less warthog after the drought that we had, because they were struggling, they were looking so hungry. And now we've got fat and well-fed little piglets running about absolutely everywhere. Look at the sand building up on its wrists. So that little warthog is basically, if you tuck your hands and try and touch your the inside of your wrist with your fingers, that's what this little warthog's doing. That's its wrist that it's leaning on. And that was one of the questions that I got asked in my tracking exam, was a warthog hock mark. Or you wouldn't really call it the hock, would you? You'd call it the wrist. But basically a warthog that was kneeling down like this and scuffling along like this one is here. That was one of the questions that I got asked in the tracking assessment that I did years ago. It was very confusing. It took me a long time to work that one out. There's Mum. Mum looks as though she's had a really thorough mud bath. Look, she's covered from top to tail. All along that mane that is usually a sort of goldish reddish colour. And her tusks as well. So she's been really having a good wallow. It is hot, as we said. It's probably one of the warmest afternoons we've had in a while. A perfect excuse to go and enjoy a day at the spa, especially if you're a mom of 3. Take your kids to the spa day. Enjoy a wallow and get rid of all of your ticks and parasites at the same time. Cool. Alright, let's see if they're going to go and have a drink at the dam, or if they're just going to continue foraging, mowing the lawn around Twin Dams. I'm really glad we had that late rain. Don't panic, little piggies. Don't panic. It's okay. It's okay. There we go. We just wanted to be in a better position to see you. All 4 faces staring at me. That's my favourite posture, warthog posture, when one of them lifts its head and twitches its snout at you, trying to get an idea of exactly what you mean and whether or not you should run away. Oh dear, apparently the decision is run away. Julie, you'd like to know how sharp their tusks are. Julie, the top ones are not actually that sharp, although they could do a fair amount of damage at high speed. And warthogs can move very, very quickly. I want to get you a view of the female and to answer this question, though, properly, because it's the bottom set of tusk that is very, very sharp, the tushes. And unfortunately, I think if I try and get too much closer, that female's going to disappear. So you'll have to take my word for it. The bottom set are rubbed razor sharp by rubbing up against the top set every time she chews. These little warthog piglets should be happy that Hosana didn't find them. Instead, he found an Impala, and Byron's back with him now.
Well, apparently I am with him. I can't see him, unfortunately. Everyone is lying in the long grass at the moment, just under these fallen over trees. But you can see that Impala kill is up in the tree. You can just see the legs And a little bit further left, folks. There we go. You can just see a leg hanging over there. 2 legs, 3 legs. And can you see the 4th one? On the other side, yeah. No, just the 3 legs. Oh, there's the other one. So there's still quite a lot left of that carcass from what it looks like. Enough for him to still feed here for quite some time. But he's lying in the long grass at the moment. It has warmed up. I suppose it's been quite a warm day, so he's just enjoying the shade. But what we're going to do is we're going to be very, very patient. We're going to sit here and wait for this leopard to hopefully get up and start feeding a little bit later. Who knows how long that could take? But luckily, there's no rush in the bush and we can spend time here with him. James, that's interesting. You asked, I think that Hosana knows enough to bury the stomach contents? Now, James, that doesn't always happen with leopards. It's and it's not a case of them really burying it. What happens is they'll try and get it out because they don't really enjoy feeding on the stomach contents. But what they'll do is they'll scrape sand over the stomach to mask the scent a little bit. But so for the moment, I'm not sure if he's experienced enough to know to cover the scent of this Impala kill. I'm surprised actually that he's managed to kill an Impala and hoist it up into a tree. Now that is really, really great for a young male leopard, and we were worried about them for a while, just because they were only managing to catch little terrapins. So this might be his first proper kill, I think. I don't know if the others have seen him with anything else. So this is really great and very exciting, and I'm so happy. Again, I haven't seen the leopard yet, so I don't know where it is, just in this long grass apparently. But like I said, we'll be patient and we'll wait and sit and see what happens. Alright, well, I'm going to sit here for a while. Tayla's still walking around and apparently she'd like to show you something in the sand.
We would like to show you something in the sand. That's exactly it. And, well, it's tracks. Are you ready for this afternoon sunset safari quiz? Because that's exactly what we're going to be doing. So, pens and papers ready? No, not pens and papers. You can just use your keyboard. I'm done for the day now. My language is gone. You can just use your keyboard. You can type with what you think the answers are. Hashtag Safari Live. But I'm going to show you now. So this is the first track down here. Now I've chosen difficult ones because you're all getting so good at tracking. The easy ones now are almost impossible to do because you get them within 5 seconds. So let's take a look at track number 1. And as you can see, it's not a new track either, and I've chosen specifically some harder ones. I'll give you a reference. Remember, this could or could not be the entire track. Some of it could have been wiped away, but that's what we're looking at over here. This is the front of the track. We'll call this one number 1. Take your guesses, take some screenshots, share them with everybody in case you're uncertain. We're going to go to the next one now, number 2. This is track number 2 down here. I'm not putting my hand near it, I'm not doing anything, otherwise I'm going to give it away. But if you have a look just down over here, you can see that's the track over there. I'm going to just label it number 2. Hopefully you'll be able to guess that one. It's difficult. Also an older track. And for the last one, this is a tricky one. This might catch you out. Is this one over here. This thing. What is that in there? And all 3 of these tracks are made by animals. I promise I haven't made up any of the footprints that you are looking at. They are indeed real animals that we see often. But 2 of those tracks are a little bit tricky because they're not very easy to see. And that's the idea about tracking. And as you progress and start learning more and more while you're in the bush, well, it's of course not all the time do the animals leave a pure sort of trace behind, or sometimes somebody will accidentally drive over or walk over the track and not know that it's there. So you've got to be able to identify a track sort of by a partial print, very much like how Herbie does and how incredible he is. He just sees a little spot on the ground and he'll be like, oh, an elephant walked here and then it walked east and then it ate a jackalberry and exactly. He's really, really good at doing stuff like that. So Alice, have we got any answers yet for our tracks? Let's see if anybody's been quick on the mark. Oh, okay. Track number 1. P Heart, answer for track number 1. You have said a zebra. Unfortunately, this isn't a zebra. This is a little bit too big to be a zebra. And like I said, this is a tricky track. You can't see all of it. But should I give you all a clue? Is that the only answer that we have, Alice? Oh. Evil Underwear Gnome. Please send in more questions just so that I can say your name live all the time. That's quite fantastic. You've said Impala. Are you talking about track number 1 or track number 3? If your guess for track number 1 was Impala, unfortunate. Oh, okay, so that was for track number 3. So Evil Underwear Gnome, you've got track number 3 correct. That indeed was an Impala track. Let's go and have a look why it was an Impala track and not something else. Craig and I are doing squats today. Hey, Craig. Up and down. So if you look at this track, this is sort of an average size track. I would most likely say that it's from a female. It's slightly smaller. The males will be a little bit longer. Normally it's between 5 and 5.5 centimeters long, if I'm not mistaken, and quite sort of heart-shaped at the back of the lobe of the track. Very much heart-shaped, and then a very, very pointy tip too. Now, if it was an Impala, which would be a similar size, with the trachylephids, of course, a spiraled horned antelope, most of the time you'll see it that the widest part of their foot, and I've just destroyed that track, but luckily you got it right, is normally in the middle. You see it quite nicely with Kudu, but the widest part of an Impala track and most of the other antelope is at the back. The other thing that you could maybe get this confused with is a baby waterbuck, because a waterbuck track is quite similar to an Impala. It's of course just much larger, but again, their lobes, and I'll draw it for you, their lobes are a little bit more extended, so it's sort of more of a heart shape, if that makes any sense. They're sort of quite exaggerated at the back, where the Impalas are sort of very nice and in proportion to the rest of the track. Right, do we have any answers yet again for track 1 and 2? We of course got number 3 right, so well done. Oh. Oh. Tigs. You almost made me do a handstand and cartwheel for you because I got very excited. You've guessed number 1, giraffe. Well done. That's indeed correct. Very, very well done. It's a very, very sneaky track. And if you notice why it wouldn't be a buffalo is firstly it's not round enough, and also it's quite long. If you follow my little finger, look how long the track is going through here, and it would have gone extended a little bit further back. Very deep indentation here on the toe, so that's so typical of giraffe. Whenever they walk, if you ever watch them, they sort of kick their feet into the ground, so you often see that. But that was a hard one, so well done. And then for track number 2, you've said, and this is the one that unfortunately you didn't get right, is that you also said that this was a baboon track. So are you ready? Watch, this is the back of a foot. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very difficult to see, but it is indeed from a cat of some sort. And then you said that number 3's track was a warthog. Unfortunately, it wasn't a warthog. That was the Impala track. I've forgotten the name now. Evil Underwear Gnome had gotten right, but it's quite nice. We're all learning from this experience. So let's see if anybody has got track number 2 right. Are there any cat answers, Alice, for track number 2? We're doing a sterling job this afternoon, and I told you it wasn't going to be an easy one, but it's good. You can't always have easy things in life, I suppose, and with tracking, you've got to be tricked every now and then. Carrie, and congratulations to you. You got the cherry on top this afternoon. Track number 2 is indeed a lion. Now, it is actually a male lion track. It's Mfumo's footprints that he left behind the other morning. But we're going to keep on searching, and hopefully we'll find some animals of our own. Jamie, however, has moved off from the leopard, and she's found one of the larger reptiles that we see in the area.
Well, sitting at Chitwa Dam, I usually expect to see Boris or Vlad the Impala. I don't know why Brent chose those names for the crocodiles of Chitwa Dam, but there you go. I guess we're stuck with them for now. But what we have found is an absolutely massive monitor lizard. Looks like a water monitor from where I'm sitting. How does that look? Oh, it's got its head turned. I couldn't quite work out why it looked so peculiar. It's got its left front arm sort of crooked into its chin. A water monitor, one of the largest, as Taylor said, one of the largest species of lizard that we get out here, and related to the Komodo dragon. And this one is probably about, I would say, a meter or so. From the top of its nose to the tip of its tail, that's about 3 feet. Maybe just a little bit less than that. It's hard to tell exactly. I wish it would straighten its head up a little bit. Either way, it's massive. And monitor lizards are very, very good at taking full advantage of a setup like the one at Chitwa Dam. Now, they can lurk along the sides and search for birds' nests, birds' eggs, chicks that are wandering about and not paying attention. It can swim about in the water, and they can swim very, very well. You can see that flattened tail that can act as a propeller almost in gliding through the water as it undulates backwards and forwards. So flattened in the way that a crocodile's is flattened to help to propel it. A really, really lovely monitor lizard example. It will also search for fish, frogs, tadpoles. There you go, George. You say it looks like a Komodo. That's because it's related to a Komodo. A Komodo dragon, of course, being the largest lizard species in the world. The monitors being the largest lizards that we get in this area. I'm not quite sure how closely related they are. I don't think they're the same genus, but they are in the same family. They are quite closely related in that sense. The one thing that our monitor lizards do not have is that savage mixture of bacteria in their saliva in the way that Komodo dragons do. Komodo dragons, of course, famous for if they bite something, and they'll actively hunt the various creatures that are on the islands with them. And if they bite them, they then suffer a long and painful death. Although monitor lizards can bite, and their bites can turn very, very septic if you don't treat them properly. Which is why I have to tell you the tale of the monitor lizard in our house. So the monitor lizard has been living in our roof, or had been living in our roof for about 2 months. We could not get this thing down. And our roof is so high in our house in Hoedspruit that there was no way we could do it safely. It's a high thatched, open thatched roof. And we would have had to get a massive step ladder, and then even then trying to get an over meter long monitor lizard out of the roof. When you grab them, they thrash, they bite, they use their tails as whips. So we were quite not terrified. Terrified is a slight exaggeration. We were quite worried about what we were going to do about our guest that kept depositing piles of excrement on our dinner table. Anyway, it fell out, unbeknownst to us, or climbed out, we're not quite sure, and it wound up in Brent's fishing cupboard. And Brent nearly had a heart failure whilst taking out his fishing equipment to pack for Kenya. He leapt several feet in the air and onto the couch. It was amazing. Brent has a real gift at crossing a room in the blink of an eye. He did that once when a snake was climbing into bed with me, and I was awoken to yells from the opposite side of the room. Well, thanks. Thanks for the gentle awakening and the warning. I've much appreciated. Anyway, we got the monitor out. Eventually, it moved under our TV, and we still couldn't get out, and it's now hissing at us. And Brent's friend was there as well. I've got it on video, but I'm afraid it's not one that I can share due to the nature of the language that was coming out of the several parties. But anyway, they got it shepherded into our guest bathroom and got it out the window. Brent eventually swept it up and out of the window. But the funniest part was his friend, who then stepped back and a little bit of fishing line touched his leg, and obviously with the memory of this monitor lizard fresh in his mind, screamed like a girl. I don't even know that I'd be capable of emitting a scream like that, and leapt about 50 feet backwards across to the other side of the kitchen, all based on a piece of fishing gut. So it was a really macho example of how to get rid of a monitor lizard. Anyway, That's my monitor lizard story. On to other such things. We've also got a pod of hippopotamus over there. Sorry about that. There we go. I'll actually do some repositioning in a bit so that we can. They've popped their heads up so nicely, and of course now I've drawn the attention to them. They've disappeared. Okay. Sorry about that, Seb. They were all out of the water. Now, Sheila, you want to know why the water is looking so green. It's because there's been a build-up of algae. It's looking a lot better than it was, actually. The algae seems to have slowly but surely floated to the edges and to the far corner. So it's actually looking a lot better. Obviously, the wind direction is in the favor of pushing it away. It's just algae that's gathered on the surface. There's not much out here that's been eating it. And as a result, it has built up. Seb, I think that's the baby hippo. I'm so sorry. It keeps popping its head up. It's that little baby. It's the little baby off to the left there. I don't know if you can manage to get to a bit to the left of where we are now. She's just gone under. When she comes up, I'll shout. I think she's got that tiny newish born hippo with her. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Popped up there. I think that's the baby. I think it's resting on Mum's back. Oh, of course, now that I want to draw attention to it, it's been there the whole time. There we go.
Yeah.
Surprise! Cute! Hey, there's little hippo resting on Mum's back. So there you go. A nice update on a familiar little face. Our little hippo's sinking its head back down under the water. Hopefully, Hosana's head is poking up out of the grass he's been lying in.
Well, let's hope so, but not quite. But we have got a little view of him at the moment. There he's lying in the long grass, breathing quite heavily, and he's probably full, and that's why. So I think he's just resting. But I'm hoping that we get to see him move up this tree and go and feed a little bit later. That would be wonderful to see. So we're sitting very, very patiently, just waiting. At least we can see him now. Now, I must be honest, having a look at this Impala kill, and it looks, I think Jamie must have touched on it too earlier, but it looks like this kill was made yesterday, perhaps. But I think maybe what happened was he made the kill and probably hid the kill in the grass while he fed on it until he got rid of most of the meat and from the stomach contents, made it a bit lighter, and then decided to try hoist it into the tree. So well done to this young leopard for doing that, because I think it's a huge learning curve for him. I think it might be. I mean, obviously with the mother, with the female, we saw them a number of times on a kill, and where they were knocking a kill out of a tree or trying to get it back up into a tree again. So all that was a learning curve for the young leopard, and learning how to hoist a kill or keep it in a tree. So it is amazing. I would like to have a better look at this leopard, though. I mean, I'm sure all of you got it right. I don't know what a view you had earlier. Just to see if it definitely is Hosana. I don't know what view you had, so if anybody can tell me, is it definitely him, the young male? Okay, so it is definitely him, apparently. That's great. So, that really is special. Norwegian Fairness, I hope I'm saying that correctly. I didn't hear the name properly, but the leopards can actually hoist, big male leopards can hoist rather large kills up into a tree. Now, I have seen a leopard in a tree with a young giraffe. I've also seen a male leopard in a tree with a buffalo calf. Now, a buffalo calf is much heavier than an impala, that's for sure. So something that size. I've seen an Inyala bull also up in a tree. leopard hoisted. I think it all depends on obviously the size and the weight of the kill. Also depends on the tree. Is it easy to climb? Is it easy to hoist something into it? So it all depends. But something that size, a buffalo bull, or buffalo calf, rather, not a bull, buffalo calf would, for them to hoist that into a tree is really, really powerful. That's a big male. Now, they'll probably be able to hoist something their own weight up into a tree. So maybe 60, 70 kilograms quite easily. So that is really something. I'm going to sit here a little bit longer. Let's go back to Tayla and find out how her walk is going.
Look at what we've got in this little burrow. It's the most amazing little spider. I suspect that it is a wolf spider living in here. Now, wolf spiders don't make webs very much like the baboon spiders, or not in the web that you and I know, like the orb spiders, to catch their prey. They are active hunters, so they move extremely quickly and they rely on ambushing their prey. Now, normally we see them out and moving around quite a bit at night time. Seems to be their preferred time to move, or to come out and hunt. So I'm actually not surprised that it is hiding away just at the entrance of its burrow. But what I did particularly find quite interesting is that it's sort of a two-way entrance, or I suppose an entrance and an escape. And if you just look just to the right, you can see that there's another little hole, and that goes straight through to the other side. So it's not a particularly big burrow. It doesn't go deep down into the ground like a baboon spider does, how they make the vertical burrows. This one is slightly different, and I'm not sure if it's a permanent structure either. Maybe this wasn't even constructed by the spider. It could have been made by a termite. It could have been made by any little insect, really, and it's just utilizing it, which is quite nice. It is on the middle of a road, so it's quite a dangerous spot. I don't think it's going to be here forever. So it's just sort of using it at the moment, and well, good for him. Now, I've seen something else that's just caught my attention that was moving here. What is it? Here you are. Come here. I think it is... Oh, I'm just trying to catch it now. No. Let's look here. Let me move all these silver cluster leaves that the elephants have very kindly dropped. If you look here, Craig, it's quite... It's just walking. Now, Evil Underwear Gnome, you've said that those wolf spiders are quite sweet. They are. They're actually one of my favorite, and I'm sad we don't see them too often. You can get quite confused with them quite easily with the nursery web spiders. Now, it looked, this little bug that was running around, I'm going to try and coax it out. Come out. Be very gentle, of course. It's just hiding away over here. But it doesn't know that I don't want to eat it, and I don't blame it for looking for shelter. Maybe if I lift this stick up. Of course, the elephants have made... There it is. It's coming out. Look at it. It's beautiful. It's black. It's got a little bit of... Can you see it, Craig? Just there where that little part of the stick is broken. Just underneath it. There you go. You see it moving? It's very well camouflaged. It's just here, right underneath the stick. And we're just trying to, of course, get a view. Sometimes it is a little bit difficult. We've got him. Now we've lost him again. Come out. Come for us. We want to show you so we can figure out what you are. Here we go. He's not cooperating very well. Now that's an interesting little one. I didn't get to have a look at its proboscis to see exactly what it is. But we, and for the life of me, can you believe it? I cannot think of what bug I want. An assassin bug. There we go. That's what I was thinking of. For the life of me, I couldn't remember the word assassin. I wonder if it wasn't a little assassin bug. But unfortunately, I didn't get to see the proboscis. And it's something that's quite typical with the assassin bugs. And why you shouldn't really pick them up and put them on your hands. And they've got this long proboscis that sort of curls, and it almost looks quite similar to a butterfly's. But they pierce through well, millipedes. You get different types of assassins too. You get the millipede assassins, that one, which I'm not sure what it was. Grass assassins, which are a little bit more slender to help them sort of camouflage and not stand out on a thin piece of grass. But very cool. And it's just amazing how, of course, we're constantly finding new and different subspecies of various things out here. So that was really cool. I hope you got some screenshots of that. Please hashtag Safari Live with them. It's always nice to know exactly what species of assassin bug we're dealing with, or maybe it wasn't even an assassin bug. Byron's still sitting with the leopards. I hope that Hosana has poked his head out so you can all take a look.
Well, he's just lifted his head a little bit there, just moved his head. So good call, Tayla, but now he's put his head back down. So it's, it's just a patience game, or waiting game. And luckily, I'm very happy to sit and spend time with an animal like this, because I think that's often when you see the stuff that you want to see. Maybe him going up the tree, coming down. You never know when he's going to do it. But I find, and usually when I guide guests too, I do spend a lot of time in the sighting, especially with something like this with the leopard. Depending, unless we really think it's not going to move. But often the patience does pay off, and sitting with them and waiting, and especially for photographers, then you get the pictures that you really want. But let's see, he's starting to move around a little bit. He's a bit more active than he was earlier. Shauna, you'd like to know, how do the African leopards differ from the Asian leopards? Well, they're actually very similar, Shauna. They're very, very similar. I think size slightly. I think the African leopards are a bit bigger. But in terms of behavior, and that, a friend of mine's worked in India before and did some studies on the leopards there. There, the leopards also really move in and out of communities a lot, in the cities and stuff. They've adapted to looking for food and that in and around the towns in certain areas of India, which is amazing. So the people almost live in harmony with some of the leopards. They do still have to be careful though, but I think the size is slightly different. And that's about it from what I know. The leopards are very similar, very, very similar. And I've seen pictures of the Asian leopards, the leopards in India and that, and they look almost identical. So I don't think there is much of a difference. Maybe a slight difference of subspecies. Francis Israel, I'm not sure, Francis, if you are from Israel or if your surname is Israel, but you asked how long will he sleep. Well, sorry, give me a second. I'll answer your question now, Francis. Go ahead. I don't have any other channels, Chris, sorry. Sorry, as I was saying, yes, how long does he sleep for? So he'll sleep for, well, they rest. They don't necessarily sleep. They'll rest for a number of hours, but they're conserving their energy for late in the evening. They're mostly active at night. However, I've seen leopards moving around during the day, and like we saw, I think how we found this leopard was he went for a drink at the dam. So, and that was much earlier this afternoon. So, it just shows they will move around during the day. They won't necessarily sleep, but they can rest for, I don't know, 10, 15 hours a day, resting. And then the rest of the time moving around and potentially trying to hunt. Well, let's wait and see if he does start moving for us, hopefully. Let's see. Jamie has got something large in the water she wants to show you.
Oh, every time I want to show you this particular animal, it ducks underneath the surface of the water. But there we go, a brief view of the hippo cow and her calf. But every time I try and draw attention to them, it's like they know that I'm talking about them and they vanish, and all we're left with is ripples across the surface of the waterhole and me busking desperately until they pop their heads up again. Aha! There we go. The head popping up once again. Now, the reason that I suspect that it's the mum and the baby, apart from the fact that it is so much smaller, is also the fact that it's leaning and resting against her back, which is what baby hippopotamus do. Now, hippo can't actually swim, so whenever you see their heads poking above the surface of the water, it's not because they're doggy paddling frantically underneath. They are in fact resting along the bottom of the waterhole itself. But when you've got short little legs, like a baby hippopotamus, that can be somewhat difficult to do, and then that's where mum comes in handy to act essentially as a mobile island that you can rest upon and move about on if you need to. There you go. You only really get a sense of scale when mum pops up. I'm pretty sure that is the baby though.
Jamie?
Yes.
There's something really nice happening over there, I'm sorry.
Oh no problem. Go for it, Seb. If you see something beautiful.
There's a raptor going into that river's nest over there.
Oh wow, awesome. That is so cool, look at that. Oh wow, well done, Seb. I did not even see that. I read all the times that we've spoken about how the weaver's nests dangle over the surface of the water. It looks like it is. It's a juvenile Harrier Hawk. It's a juvenile Djuma, and they, of course, are specialized nest raiders. And look at this. I have never ever seen one dangling like this over the surface of the water. This is so cool. Apparently you saw this with Byron the other day. This is epic. It's obviously where the Djuma comes to hunt. Sorry, Harrier Hawk. That's the new name. That's the official name. An African Harrier Hawk. This is spectacular. I mean, I do feel terribly sorry for the buffalo weavers, but this is why, or one of the reasons why they build their nests like they do. The buffalo weavers and the other little weavers, the village weavers and the southern masked weavers, or the lesser masked weavers, and in the case of the buffalo weavers, it's obviously really difficult to find the entrance, and that looks like it's what this Harrier Hawk is struggling to do. And of course cling on as well. Not all that easy. Oh, that looks like a really uncomfortable spot. And buffalo weavers are professionals. Oh, look, shame, you can see one at the top there. Doesn't actually seem too concerned by the presence of this massive raptor attempting to raid the nest. Perhaps it knows something we don't. There it goes. Awesome. Well done, Seb.
It was actually Rollo, right?
Well done, Rollo.
Yeah.
I'll explain in a second who Rollo is. There you can see the crest. The adult Harrier Hawks are grey in colour, but I have to say I think this juvenile is actually more beautiful than the adults. It is really very, very pretty in this afternoon light. And we've had many spectacular sightings with them, raiding squirrel holes. I've seen one pull a snake out of a hole once. They are expert, I don't know what you'd call them, tree raiders rather than necessarily just nest raiders, with their double jointed legs. Those legs can actually face backwards as well. This is beautiful. Oh, itchy ear. After all those thorns. I said that buffalo weavers are experts in the nest building material that they choose. They choose the thorniest branches. So I think he's been foiled, or she. I think he or she has been foiled, and now onto the dead tree. Perhaps there might be a hollow where there's something else living. It is too beautiful in the sunset light. I could sit and watch Harrier Hawks all day. I do feel terribly sorry when they are successful for the poor baby squirrel or the poor baby bird that gets grabbed. But watching them and also watching the courage that they bring out in some of the smaller species of birds, whether it's a drongo or a lilac-breasted roller or a hornbill, they all band together for the sort of common cause, and they try and chase the Harrier Hawk away, which makes sightings like these potentially very, very exciting. I have also seen a Harrier Hawk grab onto an entirely rotten piece of wood and fall out of a tree and only just managed to catch itself, which I feel as though this one seems to be treading quite a fine line on this tree. Oop, doesn't seem too bothered. Now HKP, this is actually one of our bigger raptor species, despite the fact that it isn't in fact a true eagle. An HKP, as it moves on to its next nest, you want to know if that's the size of a juvenile, what is the size of the adult. Actually, oh, here comes the buffalo weaver, now it's cross. Trying to chase it away. It doesn't have the backup of any of the others. Where are the others? Look at the way it's navigating. Here comes a second red-billed buffalo weaver. Now they're fluttering around, mobbing it. The adult's about the same size, actually. What gives it away is the feathers. The adults are not much bigger, but for most raptor species, they take several years. In the case of a Harrier Hawk, I think it's about 3 to get their adult plumage. Look at the challenging expression that it had on its face there when the buffalo weavers tried to mob it. Oh, snapping its bill. We might even see a red flush to its face if they harass it enough. It's given up onto the next one. Oh, that was a tenuous perch. Sure. That is... Look at the way it's... You never see raptor species except for Harrier Hawks doing this. Walking from branch to branch. Looking, listening. Oh! Did you see that? That buffalo weaver, I think, actually grabbed it by the tail for a second. Oh, it's getting cross. Harrier hawks are not popular birds, although it's not really that hard to see why. They have been lumped with being the real bad guys of the birds of prey world, targeting the most vulnerable of prey species. Well, the buffalo weavers have done a marvelous job of protecting their young, and this Harrier hawk hasn't had any luck. And he's walking... Oh, a starling's come to join in as well. And he's walking all over the thorn trees. Now you can see why weavers build the way they do. Look at... Did you see how brave that buffalo weaver was? Oh, that's so cool. This is a proper David and Goliath situation happening here. And of course the Harrier hawks had the disadvantage in that he's so much bigger and he's not quite balanced. That's interesting, David. I sometimes wonder, especially when you've got adults being as brave as these ones are. David would like to know if a gymnogene would ever grab an adult bird. I'm sure it's possible, and I'm sure it does happen. I personally have never seen it, but I'm sure that it does. It's, you know, a small bird that's trying to mob a raptor like this. If they get in the wrong place and that raptor can grab it in its claws, in its talons, then I don't see why not. The trick, though, is the fact that they can't move that quickly. Yes, tuck your tail. Those buffalo weavers are coming for you. Whoa. That is so cool. Awesome, Seb. Well, this is useful to know. If Byron's seen this recently, I don't know if he was in the same place, but if he was, it's good to know that this is where this particular bird hangs out. Don't you think that for those of you, I don't have my bird book with me because was being a bit silly this afternoon and didn't pack it. Don't you think the juveniles are prettier than the adults? I mean, the adults are not ugly birds, but the juveniles have got such fantastic markings, such striking markings. Where to next? Harrier hawk, what's your plan from here? I doubt those dead trees are going to have that much living in them. I might sit and see how this plays out, but since it's decided to rest for now, let's go for a stroll with Tayla.
What a fantastic afternoon we are having, and Jamie, you are quite correct. You are indeed joining us on a stroll on this fine sunny day, and what our plan is to actually aim and get towards Vuyatela Dam just in time for sunset. Some of you may remember a few months ago now, goodness, time flies, but it was myself, VM and Herbie And we just somehow ended up being on the dam wall around sunset. And it ended up being the most magnificent scene. Better than anything, really. And I think because we've got a couple of clouds today, it might be quite good. And it might happen in the next 20 minutes or so. But to get the nice reflection off of the water, and of course the beautiful bits of grass that are still around, it might be one of the last opportunities we get with the last bit of rain that we've had, of course, to green up the plants before everything dies. I'll be very shocked if we get any more rain after we've the one we've had. And I actually just want to show you how lovely and lush everything is looking. Look at it here. Now, I don't know, hopefully there's not another boom of ticks, because I won't be enjoying standing in this long grass. But look at all of this. A lot of Panicum maximum. Oh, and I've found an insect. But I need to be careful because there's buffalo thorns here. Where did it go now? I've lost it. I think I scared it away as I got hooked onto a buffalo thorn, and then I shook the entire tree. It then moved and disappeared out of my eye. It looked, maybe, I don't actually know what it was. It was quite colourful. It was a beetle of some sort, maybe a type of a jewel beetle. I didn't get to see it quick enough, however. Craig, are you up for a game of soccer? No? No, I'm joking. Of course, we've got lots and lots of evidence from all the elephants that we have been seeing, and this is most definitely from a big elephant bull. And just purely by the size, I'll be super impressed. You can even see, just in comparison to the size of my shoes, how big this ball of dung actually is. You'd have to be a rather large elephant cow to produce something of this mass. But no elephants today, which is quite a surprise. Isn't it amazing how things like that just come and go? 1 minute, you've got loads of elephants coming out of her ears. And then, well, next thing, you go for a few days with no elephants at all. But what we're going to do now, the Gymnogene is still furiously looking through a nest, searching for something to eat. Let's go back across to Jamie.
Well, the Gymnogene has taken a break from furiously searching for a nest. Oh, never mind, I take that back. There we go. Once again. Oh, the one right in the middle of the dam. That is brave. I think there's a good chance that this is how our Egyptian geese lost their eggs. They laid eggs right on the top of that pile of buffalo weavers. Oh, they're being mobbed by the Egyptian goose. How cool is that? See, I told you these birds are so brave. Now what? Oh, on to the next one. Well, I mean, this Harrier Hawk is simply spoiled for choice out here. Although, I have to confess, if an Egyptian goose ran at me like that, I'd be running in the opposite, or flew at me like that, I'd be running in the opposite direction. I've been bitten by an Egyptian goose before, and it's not pleasant. You see